It looks like the Black Templars may have gone a little bit too far again, and it's caused friction with the Space Wolves. Now, before we jump into this story, this narrative, this is all taken from the brand new Armageddon campaign book. If you haven't read it, and if you're currently reading it and you don't want to be spoiled, then please leave the video right now. If you go any further, then you will be spoiled. This is your first and only warning. Now, for those people who don't know what's gone on in Armageddon so far and they want to be completely spoiled, I have done a previous video on that, but today I'm just going to focus on a certain bit of the story, and that's between the Black Templars and the Space Wolves. Now, these are the two main chapters that are taking part on Armageddon. That's not to say there's not other chapters. The Salamanders are there, the Sons of the Phoenix, the Hammers of Dawn, Raptors are there as well. There's a bunch of other chapters, but the Black Templars and the Space Wolves are the main chapters who are there in force. So when the Space Wolves arrived, they went to a certain area of Armageddon to start purging the enemy forces that have arisen, all the demons, everything like that. When the Black Templars arrived, they also went to a certain area as well, and the certain area they chose was the Hive of Infernace. Now, this was the seat of imperial rule on the world. From there, the Black Templars pushed onwards towards the ruins of Hive Infernace and Hades, where the traitors fortified themselves and built profane idols to the blood gods that serve to empower basically the flow of energy and all the demonic incursions upon Armageddon. So that was their main base of operations, and this is where they were launching their attacks from. Now, what happened is that Angron then descended on Armageddon, and this sent an absolute blood craze through the ranks of the demonic forces, the cultists, all the chaos traitors on the planet. A bloodlust, a blood craze, and they began throwing themselves at the Imperial lines, and the Imperial forces started to take heavy losses. They started to fall back, lose entire regiments, be absolutely butchered where they stood. Helbrecht, seeing this, started a retreat back to Hive Infernace. He actually led the rearguard action, taking directly on the forces of the demonic foes. He was fighting Chaos Titans, bringing them down, hand-to-hand combat, while the Imperial forces were being overridden by the Chaos forces, and they were all going to fall back to the base of operations that was Hive Infernace, the literal headquarters of the Black Templars. And this is where the Black Templars may have gone a little bit too far. I'll let you chaps decide in the comment section. Was Helbrecht right for doing this? So when Helbrecht basically returned to Hive Infernace, they found that the Hive had fallen into a state of anarchy. Helbrecht, in his push towards the other Hives, had drawn so many of the Imperial defenders away from Hive Infernace that within it, Infernace couldn't maintain law and order. Basically, cultists sprang up from the ground. There was turncoat Imperial Guard that overran one of the Hive districts, basically resulting in a massive urban warfare battle that threatened the Imperial defense line in that Hive. Now, you have to remember that at this moment in time, Helbrecht has returned to Hive Infernace. He's seen this absolute disaster, what has happened to this Hive city as he's just left it. His Imperial lines have been overrun. He's tasted a little bit of a defeat, and this is where he puts his actions into plan. So, stoked by all this heresy, he basically said he would not tolerate this insult against the Emperor. He believed that the population of the district was beyond salvation, so he launched a purge of the Hive's outer district. Now, this purge did not discriminate between the innocent and the guilty. The Black Templars cleansed the districts of all life. Men, women, children, your cats and dogs, your goldfish, anything was fair game. You were a traitor to the Black Templars. Now, despairing over the Black Templars' actions of complete bloodshed and fearing that their purge would fall on the noble and political classes next, the High Governor beseeched Logan Grimnar to reason with Helbrecht. He basically called for aid from the Space Wolves because of Helbrecht's increased purging and his actions towards his population inside of Hive Infernace. And this is where we get a little bit of tension between the Space Wolves and the Black Templars. Let's not forget, the Space Wolves have been in this position before. The Inquisition basically did something like this during the First War of Armageddon, when they started to purge all the soldiers that fought for the Imperium because they saw so much. They saw demons, they saw demonic Angron, and the Inquisition wasn't having any of that. So Logan Grimnar confronted Helbrecht and demanded that he honor his duty to defend the citizens of the Emperor's realm. Now, Helbrecht's response was basically a dismissive one. He said that the people of Armageddon brought this disaster on themselves. The corruption must be burned out at the root and stem. So Helbrecht's purge of Infernus continues unabated. Like, he doesn't care what Logan Grimnar says. He doesn't care what he thinks. If he wants to go toe-to-toe with him, they can go toe-to-toe. And basically, it served no purpose except empowering the demons further. That's what Logan was saying. Like, all this is doing is just giving excuses for people to turn to the dark gods and empower them. But Helbrecht was like, I don't care, I'll purge them all so they can turn to no one. The only thing they're going to turn to is 6 feet in the ground, burn like a charcoal crisp. Now, the thing I found interesting in this segment of text is that nothing really happened further than this. Logan Grimnar said, please stop this. Helbrecht basically gave him the finger. But if you look at the First War of Armageddon, I thought that Logan Grimnar would be a bit more assertive. I thought maybe he would kind of challenge the Black Templars, because what happened with the First War of Armageddon? They literally went to war with the Inquisition over something similar than this, but apparently that is not what was on the card today from Logan Grimnar. Maybe he's got to keep it in his pocket and hold this against Helbrecht at a later date in the timeline, because I do think that this is just the first part of the Armageddon War. Yes, the demons, the chaos stuff that happened there is just part one, because I sense that the orcs are coming. Gaz is coming with his armada, and the orcs are really going to be the main threat on Armageddon. But it was really interesting to see two epic chapter masters stand face to face, one saying, stop this, Helbrecht, and Helbrecht saying, no, they're all heretics and they deserve this. The main question is, a part of all of this, who do you stand with? Do you stand with Helbrecht? Should they have all been purged? Should they have all been, basically killed because of the actions of others? Or do you stand with Logan Grimnar, who is like, hey, stop this, you're killing innocents, and you're basically just going to empower the forces of chaos? I'll leave that to you chaps. But what I will say is that this is not the first time the Black Templars have been in the crosshairs. Remember when there was a little old Custodes who showed up, and he brought with him some Primaris Marines to a certain crusading fleet of the Black Templars, and they saw this as heresy, and they basically killed everyone. Custodes, Primaris, everyone involved. That did, end up coming to a conclusion where the Templars did redeem themselves in a way, but, that is another story for another time. But I'm just saying, the Black Templars are there for their zeal, their faith, their absolutely ability to overcome anything and purge it in the Emperor's name. But of course, I'll leave it to you on who was right. Post it down below, and we'll have a nice little chinwag down there, as we always do. See you now, have a great day, and bye-bye.